Hello, my name is Louise and welcome to Adventures with Yarn. This is my knitting and crochet podcast here on YouTube where I talk mainly about knitting and crochet. Also any other obsessions that I might be having like yarn, stitch markers, and the such. If you are a new viewer, welcome. I'm glad that you decided to join me. And if you are an existing subscriber, welcome back. As always, if you enjoy what you see, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. And if you're not already a subscriber and you would like to be notified of every new episode that I put out, feel free to subscribe. I try my very best to put out new episodes every Monday. So, today, I know today is, today's episode is just a little bit late, maybe like a day late. I hope you guys are all having a great week, a good Monday / Tuesday, whatever day it is by the time that you see this. I can tell you that my week has been a little bit rough, and I even considered skipping this week's podcast and filming next week and just kind of calling in sick, so to say, I guess, just taking a week off. I been feeling pretty emotional, hormonal, moody. If you have been watching my previous episodes, I know I've just kind of lightly touched on, I haven't gotten into full detail, but just kind of lightly touched on the fact that my husband and I are on this fertility journey that involves medications, hormones, blah. Anyway, so I was really feeling it this last week, just super moody, temperamental, just meh. And I really thought, you know, I'm not sure if I'm up for filming, just feel so like cranky. So today I thought, you know, I'm just gonna chillax. I'm just gonna, you know, knit on my projects. I'll post something on Instagram, which by the way, if you want to connect with me on Instagram, that is @AdventuresWithYarn. But I thought, you know, I'll just post on Instagram, you know, I'll be back next week. And but I will tell you that as I was sitting and knitting this morning, I was watching my friend Emily's podcast, When Harry Met Annie. And I really encourage you guys to go check out her episodes. If you like my podcast, I feel like hers is very similar. She's a very gifted crafter, knitter. She has really good taste. And so she makes a lot of really cool stuff. But, so I was watching her episode, and you know what? It really cheered me up and encouraged me. And, yeah, so after a little pick me up, a little pep talk from my husband, and then we went out, did a little shopping therapy. I said, you know, okay, yeah, I can make this happen. I can still film. So it is a little bit later in the day than when I sometimes podcast, and so hence you might need to excuse my frizzy hair. Talk about Hermione Granger. That's what we've got going on there. Anyways, so on to talk about actual knitting. If you have your beverage of choice, go ahead, settle in, get cozy. Let's start. Got me some Dutch Bros today. Okay, so I have been working on mainly 2 different knitting projects this week. And you will be familiar if you are an existing subscriber. Yes, you do exist. We all exist, I guess, but if you are already a subscriber, you'll recognize my Basic Raglan Pullover. This is the sweater that I'm working on. It is my first sweater ever. So I don't know if I'll be able to show this whole thing, but I got the body done on this week. So here we are here. And it keeps flipping up. I'm gonna have to block this for sure, but I mean, gracious. So there's the stitch marker from where I was last time I filmed. And yes, so I did an additional several inches and then some ribbing. So the pattern itself called for 15 inches under the underarm, but once I got to around this area, I wanted to try it on and see where exactly I wanted the length to go, and I measured it on myself and told myself, okay, you know, do for 2 more inches and 2.5 more inches and then 2 inches of ribbing, because the pattern calls for 2 inches of ribbing. So I did the 2.5 inches and then started the ribbing. I will say I kind of cheated a little bit when it comes to the ribbing. This is not 2 inches of ribbing. This is like maybe 1 inch of ribbing. But when I got down to the ribbing, like when I got to where I wanted to start the ribbing, the ball of yarn that I was using 2 balls of yarn, alternating them between each other so that I wouldn't have any color pooling or big splotches of color, because this is hand-dyed yarn, by the way. This is yarn by dyed by Amy Florence of the Stranded podcast, or Stranded Dye Works is the name of her yarn that she makes. This is called Midnight Sun, and it is BFL wool, which is blue-faced Leicester wool. So this is high quality wool of British sheep, I do believe. Anyway, so I was alternating the 2 balls of yarn, and once I got to the ribbing, I had 1 ball of yarn was a lot smaller than the other, and it was like close to being done. Like kind of, I mean, it was like a ping pong ball size ball of yarn by that point. And I thought, you know, I think that I'm just going to use that yarn and finish up the ribbing. So that way I'll just be done with that little ball of yarn. And so that little ball of yarn, it didn't quite last 2 full inches of ribbing, but maybe more like 1 inch. And I thought, well, in the grand scheme of things, what's 1 inch in length? It'll all be okay. So, excuse me. So that's what I did. So I now have the body done of this sweater. And now I just need to work on the sleeves. It's been really cool trying this on, just kind of throwing it on. Because now I don't have to worry about the bottom having needles on it and having to, you know, put waste yarn and, you know, put them on and off the needles to try it on. So this is coming closer and closer to being done. It's very exciting. Very, very exciting. Oh, I can't wait to wear it. I hope that it'll still be cold-ish outside by the time that I wear this. Which, by the way, I know last time I filmed, we literally had snow outside on the ground. And then today, out here in Oregon, it has actually been like quite sunny. Like chilly, but still sunny. So that's been a lot of fun. Alright, so the next project I'm going to show you is in my sock project bag here. And I'm going to show you my progress on the Shell Cottage Socks. And this is the sock pattern that I'm working on as part of the Handmade Sock Society. So you can see I have finished the, what do you call this? The leg of the sock? The body? I don't know. This is the top of the sock, and then this is the part that will be on my upper ankle, lower leg area. And then we have the heel has been done, as well as the heel turn. So you can kind of see how that is there. And I've just started, I picked up the stitches for the gusset and now working in the round, and we'll be doing what we call the gusset decreases from there. So these will be knit in the round and decreased to make the ankle kind of come back, and then work on the foot of the sock. I am making these on my little circular needles, little ChowGoo circulars that I really have come to really enjoy making socks on. If you can see this pattern here, so this is, I think this is why this is called the Shell Cottage Socks, because this texture here looks like little seashells all lined up. This has been a really fun sock to be making. I really love the yarn that I'm making this with, which is, by the way, this yarn is by Biffsugar Yarns. It's called Beatrix, and I feel like it just goes so well with this pattern because the pattern is called the Shell Cottage Socks, and I really feel like this color of yarn speaks to me of seashells. You've got the creams, you've got the browns, and little bits of pink that are on some seashells, like the big old seashells that you listen to the ocean in, put it up to your ear, listen to the ocean. Like I mentioned, this is part of the Handmade Sock Society, which is a subscription sock club. You can find this, for one, I'm going to put a link down in the description, so you can just follow that link if you want to join the Sock Society. Or you can look on Ravelry. The page is Curious Handmade, and on that page you can find chats where people talk about these socks that everyone's making on the Handmade Sock Society. You can find other patterns by Helen, who is the creator behind Curious Handmade. She makes other kinds of patterns too. She also has a blog that you can read, and you'll find links there on the page. And it sounds like she also makes a podcast as well that you can find on iTunes. So I really encourage you to check out Curious Handmade group on Ravelry, or follow the link down below if you want to join the sock subscription. Converting pounds to dollars, it is just a smidge more than $20 to get a total of 6 sock patterns throughout the year. So the first pattern was released earlier in February, and a new pattern will be released every other month until December, I think. And so in total you'll end up with 6 patterns. And you'll also be blessed to read some of Helen's writing. When she introduces the Handmade Sock Society, she really sets the mood, sets the scene for, you know, this coastal getaway, because the theme of this year's Handmade Sock Society is the Cornish Coast in Cornwall, England. And so she just really sets this beautiful scene in her writing that really transports you there to this place where you are at this coastal retreat getaway, and you have the, you know, the cliffs outside and the views, and you have the ocean, and you know, there's this little shell cottage with seashells all in the plaster outsides lined up, and you go inside and you're cozy next to the fire in this little worn armchair. It's super, super cute, adorable. It's really nice. I really encourage you to check it out. And of course, there's also like chats that you can talk to other people and show your progress. With these socks, you can chit chat about like any issues you have with the pattern, see if other people are having the same issues. It does sound like a lot of people are having the issue of like the sock being smaller than what they might normally, than the size they might normally use. I did find that it was a little bit snug to get my foot through this body length part of the sock so far, but it did eventually go through, and I think with the heel being made, it should be easier. I think it will work out. It should be fine. But yeah, so that is my progress so far. I got another stitch marker by the Clever Clove there. That's my progress so far on the Shell Cottage Socks. That's been really fun. So this has been living, like I said, this has been living in my little sock project bag. I like how I've noticed that, like, okay, for one, socks are like the perfect on-the-go project, it seems. I mean, look, it just fits right in there. Got my yarn in there, put the sock in there. Fits right in there. Take it on the go. If your purse is big enough or you have enough room in your purse, I don't. But you could stick this just in your purse and have it on the go. I don't have room in my purse, so I just carry it alongside. But I have it with me so that if I'm stuck somewhere in the car, now not driving the car, in the passenger side of the car, I have something to stitch, or I'm, you know, if we're waiting, if we end up running errands and waiting somewhere, anything like that, I have it so that I can stitch on it. But I like how I've been like very sure to take this with me whenever I go out and about around town. And actually there are many times when I don't have any opportunity to knit, but I'm still taking this with me. And just in case I, you know, have a situation that I could knit in, but it doesn't always happen, but I just find that funny. Anyways, so those are the two projects that I've been working on this week. I did want to show you a few things. Let's see, which to show you first. So, I have not done any stitching or embroidery for quite some time, but I thought I might as well show you some of the embroidery that I did start doing a while ago. So, there is like a super big bookstore in Portland, Oregon called Powell's. I think it might even be like the country's largest new and used bookstore. Maybe, I'm not sure. Maybe. But they have a craft section. That's usually where I beeline it to whenever I go there. But I had found this book, Edgy Embroidery by Renee Rominger. This is the owner of Moonrise Whims. So I found this, and I was inspired to try my hand at embroidery. I've done stitching before, lots of cross stitching, and I figured like embroidery looks just like back stitching for cross stitch. So I'm sure that, you know, it can't be that hard. Let's give it a shot. So I, you know, looked up some things on Pinterest, got some inspiration. What I decided to do was, I think I went to Hobby Lobby and got like some fabrics. I got some little wooden hoops. I got some printed fabrics to embroider upon, and as well as like embroidery floss, or yeah, I guess that's the term for it, the thread, the colored thread that you get for embroidery and stuff. So the first little thing I made was this. Oh, sorry, the camera is blowing it out so bad. But if you can see this kind of teal fabric with little white triangles, and it says, I love us. Us being my husband and I, us together, like I love us. What I did was, when I decided on this little wooden hoop, I took the hoop onto some paper, probably like some tracing paper, and kind of, you know, stenciled that out, and then kind of, I believe this, I free-handed the font, the type, to put the I and the love and the us, and kind of try my very best to like center it. It's not perfect, but I tried my very best to center that on, and then I like went over it really dark in a special fabric transfer pencil on the tracing paper, so that way I could then place the tracing paper on top of the fabric and kind of iron it on so that the tracing would like transfer onto the fabric. And then once that transferred onto here, I had, you know, a guide on where to stitch, so I knew where to stitch because it was then like stamped onto the fabric. So I stitched out those words there. So I made that. That was the first one I made. And then I don't remember the exact order, but along the lines of that little one, I made a couple other small little hoops. I really liked this fabric. It just kind of looked cute and fun. So I took two more little wooden hoops and some more fabric. And again, I think these actually were, I didn't free draw the lettering for these. These were actually from that book, Edgy Embroidery. Says nope and ugh. Is that how you say it? Ugh. I just thought these would be like super cute to just kind of like hang in like a little office space or like a little cubicle or something. These were really fun, pretty simple. The backing here, I spent a lot of time deliberating about what I wanted to do about the backing, because like this one I am for sure keeping for myself. These I actually was considering about selling them on Etsy, or giving them away as presents. But this one for sure I was going to keep for myself, and so hence I didn't really do much with the back. And you can see the back is like all kinds of wackadoo. Like you can see the back of the stitching, that's the ugly part, you don't want to see that. And then all this part here that's just kind of like tucked behind it. You can't tell from the front, but from the back. So I'd been thinking about all these different kind of ways what to do with the fabric on the back, and how to do it so that it could still like be hung on a wall. And then I thought, well, how do you even hang embroidery hoop on the wall? Am I supposed to like be able to just like set it on the wall and have like this little edge here like kind of catch on something and be set? Or are we supposed to put like a ribbon around this, which then can hang from a hook? And if you guys have answers, feel free to tell me, comment below. I would love to hear. But so basically what I ended up doing, oh my gosh, and I tried like several different glues too. I really didn't want to have to use a hot glue gun. I thought there's gotta be an easier way. There's gotta be just like some fabric glue, or just like some all-purpose glue that I could just put along the inside and then, you know, tuck all the fabric around and it would just work. Really, in the end, it had to be hot glue. The other stuff just wouldn't stay. So I trimmed the fabric, I hot glued around the edge, tucked it all in, and then to cover the back, I cut out a piece of like thick, like felt, yeah, like the sturdy crafting felt, and then just kind of like stuck it in there. So you can see like this kind of comes out here, and there's the back. But I just kind of cut it out so that you could just stick it there. And in that way, you could just like set it on a hook and it could be hung on the wall, just like that if you wanted to. Or, you know, however you want. You could put a little ribbon on there and hang it up some way. But anyways, so both of those have the backing done. And those are two little projects I made. Another one, now you might recognize this as the very cover, similar to the cover of the book. I went ahead and made this. I just thought this was really fun. A lot of that back stitching, which I'm completely familiar with from cross stitching, and then learning to do the flowers and the leaves of the embroidery, that was a lot of fun. It's not like super symmetrical. It's kind of like not perfect, and also like I think some things got like tugged a little bit, so there's a smidgen of puckering if you can see it, but I really like just the look of this against the white, against that white fabric. Again, I cut out a big old piece of felt for the back and hot glued around the edges. I did also put this in my Etsy shop for sale, just to kind of have something to put up for sale, I guess. So made that. Now this next one was pretty fun. This was kind of on a whim, and this will kind of tell you when it was that I made these. So this says, Kiki, do you love me? Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. So, and I also backed that with some black felt lining there. If you're unfamiliar, this had to have been last calendar year. Drake has this song and it's like, Kiki, do you love me? Anyways, and then people were like being crazy with this song. Not only is it like catchy, it gets stuck in your head, but people were doing the Kiki challenge or something like that, where they were like being crazy. For one, they were like getting out of their car, like their car that they're driving, they just kind of like drive slow, and then as the song's playing, get out and do the dance next to the car as the car. Yeah, completely irresponsible, completely unsafe. But anyways, I thought, you know, I kept having this running through my head, Kiki, Do you love me? Da, 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 da. Anyways, so I, honestly what I did was I pulled up either Pages or Microsoft Word and typed this out. And I just typed Kiki and chose the fonting really big, and then the Do You Love Me fonting in the kind of font I wanted. So I kind of put it together on in a Word document and then printed it out so that I could trace it onto tracing paper, which I could then, you know, transfer onto the fabric so that I would have like my lines, like where I would know where the letters were as I was embroidering. And I just kind of, in my mind, I thought, you know, I think this would be really fun. I should do like some ombre letterings. And so just kind of came up with that. And I feel like that concept specifically is really intriguing about embroidery, that you can kind of just think up these things, and maybe you can center stuff just free-handed as you're embroidering. I can't, and that part does kind of bug me a little bit. So I think as long as I can make the pattern and kind of fit it on, like have the area that I know I want to work with, and then find some lettering or font that's going to fit in it and be pretty centered, symmetrical-ish, then you just kind of print it and transfer it, and once it's transferred on, just kind of, you know, use it as your outline to then stitch and embroider. And it's a lot of fun. There's still so many other options to do. It's just I get pulled from one craft to another. I think, I'm trying to remember if I had already done my big cross stitching of that elephant that I showed you guys after I made this. I don't remember. But basically, I've also been pretty obsessed with knitting and crochet lately. So hence why I haven't gone back to do some more embroidery. But I just wanted to show you guys these. I definitely want to be doing some more in the future. I think especially like these little ones here can make super cute Christmas presents. I mean, think about it. You've got these fairly cheap supplies. You know, these little wooden hoops work out just fine. And fabric, you can buy like a yard of fabric for however much, like $3 to $5, $8, depending on what it's made of, what it looks like. And then this thread is pretty cheap too. And you're just transferring. The transfer stuff, yeah, that did kind of take a little bit of money to get the tracing paper and like the fabric marker, and they had to be sure that you have an iron. But you can also just straight up, like if you want to just draw onto the fabric with a fabric marker, that's something too. But anyways, so like I think that the ratio of the time it takes to make these and the cuteness factor is pretty even. These take a short-ish amount of time. I mean, this is going to take you a lot shorter amount of time to make than like a knitted hat. And you're gonna get that little cute factor. You can make multiples of them. You can make them, you can customize them. Anyways, yeah, so I really enjoyed those before, and I think I'll probably have to make some more for Christmas and the such. Okay, well, I was considering showing you guys some things that I bought. I don't want anyone to freak out about me breaking my yarn diet, because I have been on a yarn diet since the year has started. I've been trying my very best to use up the yarn in my stash that I already have, instead of just buying more and more yarn for intended projects and just making my stash just grow. I've been meaning to knit from my stash, and I have a little bit. But I had a gift card that was given to me for my birthday that I still hadn't used, and so today, with part of the shopping therapy that I mentioned, I did use a gift card at Joann Fabrics. You know what was really weird? When I went to Joann Fabrics, the inside had been like remodeled, like changed. Like I haven't been there for a while, and all of a sudden I walk in, I'm just like, nothing's where it used to be. The yarn was in a whole other section, and then the fabric was where the yarn used to be, and then some, and it was just like, whoa. But anyways, also, it was a little bit odd. I just hadn't been there for a while. And I really felt myself slipping into my old ways, which are, you know, we're at the craft store. Let's spend a bunch of money on a bunch of yarn that I'll probably use sometime. Who knows when, but sometime. It's just that when you do that over and over, you get this growing and ever-growing stash full of yarn that just doesn't end up getting used. So that's why I'm on a yarn diet. I want to be using the yarn that I do have. But, you know, gift cards for your birthday, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna spend it on yarn. So I did. So I found some Red Heart acrylic yarn, striped. I thought this would make a really fun, like, baby blanket. I mean, just something fun. Maybe for my future children, maybe for my little baby niece, baby Liviana, just something. So I also grabbed another one in a male gender color. So these say Red Heart Bunches of Hugs. They just kind of seem like your standard acrylic, worsted weight, striped yarn. So I got those two. And then the other things I bought, I actually did buy for me to make something for myself, which is a new concept lately too. I definitely make most of the things that I make for other people. I do so much gift knitting. But, you know, I've been making the sweater that I've been making. That's been for me. I made myself a pair of socks, and now working on a second pair of socks for myself. It's kind of intoxicating to be making these things for myself. And I do want to have like a nice shawl that I can wear, kind of like a scarf for these chilly days. I feel like that would look really nice in my wardrobe. And I've made them for other people, but not really for myself, except for one big chunky scarf that I have. So I saw a couple things and I thought I should make myself, well, I should make myself a shawl. So why not use this shawl and a cake by Lion Brand. This is pretty sparkly, if you can tell, and I really like these colors. So I found this shawl and a cake by Lion Brand. I also grabbed this other color. It doesn't really, the color is mostly gray. It's not like, it's not shifting from one dramatic color change to the next. It's just gray, light gray, and white. But if you can tell, this has this sparkly thread interwoven through the whole thing. So it's got like pink and blue and silvery sparkles, some gold too, sparkles throughout the whole thing. And I thought that could be really nice and universal with a lot of other shirt choices while wearing that. And then we also have another caked up yarn by Lion Brand, and it is a cupcake cake of yarn. How fun is that? I mean, that is just like out there fun. So I thought that would be really cool too. Like, you just envision like a triangle shawl or some kind of shawl. That'd be really nice to wear on a chilly day with a top. So yeah, I got those for myself. Yes, I did buy these, but with a gift card. Yes, I am on a yarn diet. But you know what? Yarn diets can be like regular diets, right? I mean, you gotta let yourself have something every once in a while, right? Anyways, so yeah, I'm really excited about those. Really excited about the knitting that I'm going to be doing for the rest of the week. working some more on my Shell Cottage Socks, starting the sleeves on my sweater, and maybe once I finish one of those things, I can move on to making myself a shawl, or not wait, you know, whatever. Okay, so that's gonna wrap up this week's episode. I really appreciate you guys sticking around and watching. If you enjoy what you see, feel free to hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you would like to see my if you'd like to be notified with new episodes that I post. I hope that you guys are all having a great week. I would love to connect with you. Feel free to comment down below. Hit me up on Instagram at Adventures with Yarn. You can find me on Ravelry, and my username there is Adventure with Yarn. And I'm actually going to be working on making a Ravelry page for this YouTube channel. So stick around, watch my Instagram for how to get theirs precisely. So okay, yeah, that's it for this week. I hope you guys are all well, have fun crafting, enjoying life, and love one another. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.